First day in the office, internet dreams collide. Season 3 got me buzzing, Comcast worldwide. I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, a podcast made by Comcast interns about interns. I'm Isabella Yu, a university relations intern working in person at the Battery office in Atlanta for this summer 2024. This season, we will be sharing our internship experiences as Gen Z interns. Our point of view. We could not be more excited to have you all tuning in and joining us.
I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my...
Let's get started and meet our hosts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, the podcast created by interns about interns for interns. My name is Joan Kim, a rising senior at Baylor University. This summer, I am working as a finance intern under collections and accounts for the Central Division. Within my team, there's a lot of budgeting, forecasting, and ad hoc.
And my name is Grace Maines. I'm a public relations intern this summer coming from the University of Georgia, where I'll be finishing my last semester of grad school this fall. During my internship, I had done a lot of social analysis, putting together media lists, writing pitches, blogs, social copy, lots and lots of writing. But enough about us. Let's get back to the internet.
And we are so excited to be your new host this week and dive into the impact that our generation brings to the workplace.
Yes, and Gen Z is just starting to dip their feet into corporate America. We're bringing these unique perspectives and different expectations shaped by our upbringing in a digital and fast-paced world.
That's so true, Grace. Our generation is known in the workplace as digital natives, tech savvy, and a generation that values social issues in the workplace. Most of all, many of us prioritize work-life balance and flexibility in our work, as well as inclusivity and collaboration.
Exactly, Joan. And Comcast knows this. With our Digital Natives program, other initiatives to close the digital divide to our generations and others. Obviously, we are working with people from every generation, and it's important for us to both understand and appreciate their corporate values as well. It's also crucial that we all learn how to balance being ourselves while also promoting this newfound professionalism in the workplace.
Right, Grace. Today's episode is going to be all about how we are truly in our corporate era and what that even means in today's environment. Today, we have a very special guest to help us understand what the corporate culture means to us and how to properly adjust. Introducing Giovana Moreno. Giovana, if you don't mind, please share with everyone a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Giovana Moreno, and I went to the University of Florida. I'm currently a marketing communications specialist here at Comcast, and I was also a sales and marketing intern here at Comcast.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. So, Gio, obviously you were a previous intern, like you said, and a co-host during season 2 of the Internet Podcast. You have now accepted and started working in a full-time role here. So thanks for passing the baton to all of us this season. Can you share with us why you decided to come back?
Yeah, so aside from all the learning opportunities and the opportunities for growth, the biggest thing that stood out to me was the company culture. Comcast really cares about their employees and they really emphasize work-life balance. I love all the employee resource groups and how you can get involved and how that promotes inclusivity. I like the flexibility with work with our hybrid model, and everyone is just so kind and willing to help. There are so many opportunities for growth here, like I mentioned, but it's not just vertically. It also goes horizontally across different departments and different teams. So all of that is ultimately what made me come back.
I love that you brought up the company culture, and that was honestly one of the main reasons that I decided to intern here in the first place. You know, Comcast describes this culture as a team that feels like family. Comcast always preaches that at the heart of the company are its people, and they want all of us to be ourselves. Can you say that you've experienced this thus far?
1000%. I genuinely love working with my coworkers. They're all so smart and driven, and I've learned a lot from them. In the office, we'll all have lunches together and we'll go on coffee runs, but we'll also hang out sometimes outside of work at happy hours and things like that. So I really feel like Comcast creates such a safe environment for people to feel comfortable being themselves, and it really shows in the office.
I definitely agree. And I've seen it in the office as well. As an intern, I've experienced how welcoming and kind everyone is. And you mentioned earlier our ERGs and community involvement, and that's also a huge contributor to the company's culture. I've seen how Comcast values each other and outside organizations with just the work that I've done this summer and through conversations with my team. In our meetings and team connection, team members are constantly congratulating each other on their work, offering help or extra assistance, and giving credit to one another.
Did you know that Universal Pictures, a part of NBC Universal, is currently launching Despicable Me 4 in theaters? This is the first Despicable Me movie to be released in 7 years, so it has definitely been long awaited. Not only is this a huge win for Comcast, but it's also a huge win for us interns, because the UR team blessed everyone with tickets to a movie this week.
To piggyback off, during my time here, I value how much everyone in Comcast really wants to see each other succeed. My biggest worries coming in were how I can add value to the team as an intern. But with the support of my manager and other mentors, I was able to receive a lot of guidance and support in this area. Something we were also curious about, Gio, was if anything has changed since you were an intern now working full time, besides the obvious things, of course.
Yeah, as an intern, my main focus was learning as much as I could and then also networking to gain more insight and start to plant those seeds to build relationships with people. I really wanted to learn about the different teams, the different roles Comcast had to offer, and the actual work that everyone was doing. But now, being a full-time employee, aside from all those things, some of the things that I really focused on beyond the actual work I'm doing was building confidence, advocating for myself, owning that work that I'm doing, and then building and fostering those relationships within my team and our stakeholders while, of course, adapting professionally. I had to build the confidence to advocate for myself during the interview process to get the opportunity for a role. Because I had just graduated college, I did not have as much work experience as someone who has been working in their career already for however many years. So I did experience some imposter syndrome. I had to remind myself that I was there for a reason and I had been working to continuously develop myself professionally, and I'm very capable of learning whatever I didn't know. So now, as a full time employee, I have had to continue to put myself out there, foster these important working relationships, own that work, and contribute value to my team.
Thank you for your transparency, Gio. Building those relationships and honestly working through the imposter syndrome is a massive step, especially early in one's career. As interns, we definitely understand where you're coming from. And I love that you brought up professionalism, and that's something we're super excited to get into this episode.
Exactly, Grace. Let's chat about professionalism. In my eyes, professionalism is behaving in a way that shows you're responsible, respectful, and good at your job. It means being on time, dressing appropriately, communicating well, and treating others with courtesy.
Yeah, I feel like the idea of professionalism, especially over the past few years, has really shifted. I've seen a lot of key changes in things like the dress code, work-life balance, and communication styles. Gio, I would love to hear how you engage in professionalism every day.
Yeah, for sure. So to me, professionalism is showing up on time, being prepared, taking accountability, being responsible, and then just showing kindness and respect to others. And all these things don't take away from being yourself. I feel like I even try to be that way outside of the workplace too. Of course, there has to be a professional boundary, but professionalism doesn't mean you can't just be yourself or that you have to act in a certain way that isn't authentic to you. You can be yourself while remaining professional.
That's super interesting to hear. I love how you mentioned professionalism doesn't mean you can't be yourself. I always do my best to hold a healthy balance between professionalism and keeping a personal touch as well. I think it's so important to take time to understand and learn people's professional boundaries so that I'm able to build genuine relationships. I also try to arrive earlier than needed because I've grown up in the mindset that early is on time and on time is late. Have there been any moments where it's hard to stay professional or even when it just isn't necessary?
Yeah, a certain scenario that comes to mind was when my pet Slinky was sick and I had to figure that out, go to vet appointments, and deal with that, all while focusing on my responsibilities at work and remaining proactive. I opened up about this to my managers because it was causing a lot of personal stress. And my managers, as well as my team, were all so understanding. And it just really made me realize that we are only human. So it's impossible to remain completely professional 100% of the time when we also have things in our life going on.
I totally understand that, Gio. Stress has always been an interesting balance for me. But thank you so much for joining us today and for helping us understand the Comcast culture, professionalism, and work-life balance a little better. We love seeing you in your corporate era.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me.
Welcome back to Comcast in Your Community, a segment devoted to sharing important updates and promising insight into how Comcast impacts people on a deeper level. So, what is Comcast doing today? I think it's safe to assume that everybody is congratulating Javier Garcia on his new position as Comcast's Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the Central Division. As a member of the senior leadership team, he'll be responsible for overseeing various functions from his office here at the Battery in Atlanta, Georgia. Not only does he have incredibly valuable experience in blending digital media with strategic marketing skills, but he is also a strong advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, who is passionate about instilling a sense of belonging. In addition to his new role here at Comcast, Javier serves as the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Multicultural Xfinity Services, as well as the Executive Lead for Comcast's Employee Resource Group, Unidos. So it's pretty clear that while he is an amazing asset to the sales and marketing department, he is also a great asset to our work environment and culture here at Comcast.
It was so great speaking with Giovanna, especially with someone with a ton of experience. Going off of experiences, let's discuss some do's and don'ts. Now, I believe one of the biggest do's in the office is simply understanding time and place.
Yeah, I definitely feel like one of the best things you can do is learn how to read the room. And that comes with knowing when it's the right time to say or do something.
Right, because say you're going to someone's cubicle to ask them a question, but when you get there, they have both AirPods in and look super focused. You can wait to approach them, shoot them an email, or check their schedule on Teams if you have access to it.
Yeah, and this really ties into another important do, which is to get to know the people you work with. Asking a question shouldn't be the only time you talk to the people around you.
That's so true because building relationships in the office gives you something to look forward to and something to go to when you just need a break.
Exactly. But not only should we build relationships with the people around us, we really want to build one with our managers as well.
Yes, that is a huge must.
Because you'll never know exactly what they expect from you and what you can learn from them until you've tried to sit down and get to know them and those expectations.
I completely agree. But hey, we've talked about the things you should do, but the people really need to know what you shouldn't do.
Like being on your phone,
Yes, you should never be glued to your phone.
especially since you never know who's going to walk into the office. As interns, we aren't exactly familiar with the who's who, and we need to be cautious about what we do because anyone around us could be a top executive.
And on the topic of executives, don't be afraid to ask people questions. Not only are we here to learn, but we're also here for a short amount of time, so it's important to build a brand for yourself that leaves an impact while using this opportunity to gain knowledge and experience.
Very true. We need to make the most of every second while we're here, especially if we want to truly grow and learn about the fields we're interested in.
Now, I think we've said enough about the do's and don'ts, but what the people really want to know is what are we wearing?
For those who don't know, the dress code at Comcast across all employees and interns is labeled as business casual. And like Zaire said in episode 1, he really likes to wear his nice pair of Jordans.
Exactly. Depending on my day, I find myself coming into the office with a blazer and slacks, or jeans and a work appropriate sweater. Especially on days right before a long weekend, such as today, there aren't a lot of people in the office, so I choose to dress casually. Compared to days where I know I'll be having meetings with directors and VPs, clothes are one of the first ways people express themselves. And it's cool that Comcast gives that freedom, but still at a professional level.
Yeah, of course. But if you prefer a more business professional look, like sometimes I do, it's completely welcomed. And you will see many employees dressed that way too.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, yes, the dress code is business casual, but you still want to have a few business professional outfits on hand.
Like for meetings.
Exactly. And this really goes back to learning the people you work around and your managers so you can have an idea of how they dress for meetings to get a gauge for how you should dress.
And a good rule of practice is to look at who's going to be in the meeting. If they are people you know, like your everyday team, dress how you usually do. But if there's some people you've never met, or some VPs or even SVPs, think about dressing more professionally.
Now, we've talked a bunch about meeting etiquette. How about Teams etiquette?
But wait a second, Joan. We can't talk about that until we settle the debate. Do you say GIF or GIF?
Personally, I'm on Team GIF. How about you?
Quite the opposite. I say GIF, which seems to be the unpopular one, as I've found out. But in all seriousness, we use GIFs all the time, and they are encouraged as long as they're appropriate, of course. Like my team likes to use them to react to office news or PR updates or for some birthdays.
And it's such a good way to start your day with a marathon of funny good morning GIFs.
Now, switching to actual team meetings, make sure you're always ready to turn your camera on.
Yes, because you should always try to have your camera on. It will keep you engaged. But of course, you might not be able to because of your surroundings.
Exactly. And if you know people are going to be walking behind you, or if you're in an unprofessional setting, use the backdrop options Teams gives you.
That's so true, especially if your background can be distracting. Another thing I like to follow is joining a Teams meeting at least 35 minutes early.
And I've learned this the hard way. Make sure you join on mute. I say this because Teams will turn your mic on or off for you based on the number of people in the meeting when you join. So always check your mic status when you join the meeting. But it does look better to be early, even if the presenter or meeting starts later.
Yes, and speaking of meetings starting late, use your status indicators. They automatically track when your meetings are over, but not always will track if the meeting finishes late.
And these are extremely helpful if you're working from home where there's more distractions around you.
Another Teams feature I believe everyone should get familiar with is scheduling assistant.
Yes, it is so helpful because it really does the hard work for you by offering time frames where you and the person you're meeting are both available. I know I've used this several times today alone.
Now, we've dropped a lot of nuggets for everyone listening, but I think it's time to hear how the other interns are feeling too.
Now, for everyone's favorite segment of the podcast, Behind the Desk. For this episode, we first asked interns, how do you keep your personality from being overshadowed by the need to be professional, especially in a corporate environment?
You all responded by creating a healthy balance between your professional life and your personality, with your outfits, by not being afraid to build connections with coworkers, by keeping in mind that everyone has been new at one point, by choosing to bring your true self to work and embracing who you are, by maintaining a level of respect for myself, by knowing the spaces where you can let your personality shine, and realizing that being professional doesn't mean you can't be authentic.
Yes, thanks, Joan. And we also asked interns, what was a situation where it was hard to maintain professionalism, or it wasn't necessary, or you just didn't want to?
Interns responded when there was a rumor going around about an employee. A lot of people mentioned how when you're working with people around your age, especially in management positions, they find it hard to maintain professionalism because they can only speak casually. And many agreed during interns after 5.
Yes, and thanks to Amanda, Mark, Nevin, Reese, Tamia, Lizzie, Kaylin, Joan, and Mallory for participating in this segment of Behind the Desk.
This episode was put together by our project manager, Isabella Yu, producers Kennedy Ryman and Mallory Richard, podcast editors Gabriella Rad and Reese Tobin, scriptwriters Madison Proper and Jordan Winton, as well as script editor Amanda Greaves, IT by Jonathan Elkowitz, and hosted by Joan Kim and Grace Maines. Shout out to both Grace and I for also designing the digital logos and banners.
Yes, and I have to say, those digital logos and banners look great. And a big thank you to all of our Central Division interns and the University Relations team and all our guests for making today's episode a huge hit. If you want to deep dive and create the future with us, please don't forget to apply this fall for a summer internship. Applications open in September, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Stay tuned for the next episode and all season long, as we'll always be keeping it real and bringing you our POV. See you next week.
Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Internet Podcast. This episode was brought to you by the Intern Podcast Committee, with support from the incredible University Relations team in the Central Division. Special thanks to Janda Anderson, Ernesto Sosa, Lindsay Seals, and Andres Cardoso for making our experiences as Comcast interns unforgettable. Past seasons of the Internet Podcast are now available and streaming on your favorite services, so feel free to check them out. Listen to previous seasons wherever you listen to your podcasts, and stay tuned for the next episode of Season 3.